Joan, top of the evening to ye.
And the same to you. Do you have a wonderful day?
It's been a good day. Got a lot done today, so that was good.
Hallelujah.
Because people have been having such a hard time over the last couple of weeks, due to the class being on again, off again with my vacation time and then the high holy days. We're going to do a review today.
Okay, that sounds wonderful.
We're just going to start at lesson 1, and we're going to see if we can review and work our way up through lesson 8 where we finished last week.
Okay, I missed last week. So, well, I listened to it last night.
Okay. Well, we're let me lock the front door because I think this is it. Okay. Now see how Carrie felt last week. Now I'm starting to feel sorry for my college professors when I would skip. I'm so sorry. Shabbat shalom, Marianne. So let me figure out how to get this thing to do its PowerPoint. I think that's it. Okay, I think that is it. Let's wait for YouTube to catch up. Yes, there we are. So, as I was mentioning to Joan at the beginning, we are just going to do a review. Because of the on again, off again nature of the last month and a half, a lot of folks were having a hard time over the last couple of weeks. So we're just going to go back to the beginning because we're not even paid by the hour. We get to just take as long as we want on this. This is a life study. So we're going to go back to the beginning and we're going to review things and get caught up. If we need to take 2 weeks doing this, we'll take 2 weeks. If we need to take 4 weeks, we'll take 4 weeks. 4 weeks will probably be the cutoff. But this would be the time, if you have questions, feel free to ask a question. Tonight I do have better management of the YouTube live chat. So for those of you that are watching via YouTube, you can type your questions in if you do have a question. So let's start with prayer, guys. Heavenly Father, thank you for the privilege of studying this language, the language of your people. Father, I would ask your blessing upon me as the teacher, that you would anoint me with the ability to communicate and teach this language to your students here. Father, I would ask you to put an anointing on them so that they would understand. Lord, would you please connect the dots for them so that they would understand. B'Shem Yeshua, amen. So I hope you can hear okay.
Beautiful.
We had to go with a different setup today because the microphone that I typically use, that I clip on, it's very expensive and I don't like transporting it back and forth because I'm afraid I'll break it. So we're going to just stick with this old guy and hopefully that will work. So remember, this book was set up not in order, not in Aleph, Bet, chronological order. It is set up to show and contrast and compare letters that look the same or letters that look similar. For example, right here we have the bait and the veit. We have the bait and the veit. They look exactly the same with the exception of the bait has a dagesh in the middle of it, that little bird's eye right in the middle. Now, just like with any other alphabet or alphabet, the letters that we are working with, the name of the letters, that first sound in the name of the letter is the sound of the letter makes. Usually, there's a couple of exceptions like the silent letters, but usually that's how it works. So here we have the bait and the veit. Anyone want to guess what sound the bait makes? Buh. Buh. Right on, Joan.
Yay.
Anyone want to make a guess as to what sound the veit makes? That's right. So the difficulty that people were having is, and I was noticing this over the last few weeks, we were forgetting that there's a difference. And so we were trying to read some of these words and we were mixing it up a little bit. So that's why we're going back through things. So we have the bait and we have the veit. So let's read line 1 together. Line 1, we're just going to make the sound that these letters are saying. Ba,
Ba,
ba, va, v,
ba,
b, v. Okay. Very, very simple, very rudimentary. Then we have the tsere, which is our little vowel sound here. And that tsere, do you remember what sound that makes? They, a, that's right. So when we have on line 2 here, this sound that's written here is bay. Number 2 on line 2, Joan, can you read that?
they,
Very good. So we see bay, they, bay, bay. Now on line 3, we get to bay, or vey. How about this one here?
bay.
Bay. And then we have bay. And then we have boo. Right? Because there's no vowel sound there. So you would just pronounce the consonant. So that is the bait and the veit. And this is so surreal, Joan, because I see your name on my computer screen here, but I hear your voice coming in up there. And so I hear your voice and I start to turn. Yeah.
Got to take care of that neck.
Yeah. Well, I'll probably have to do some work on it when I get home.
Yeah.
So any questions as to how we write the bait and the veit? You understand how we write those two? How about you, Joan? Any questions?
It always shows that little dot above, but it doesn't show it when you write it. It just has the straight line. You know what I mean? It just kind of goes up when you start the letter.
Let me try something here. Meeting controls. Where are the meeting controls? Stop the share. So now we're back to here. Screen share white screen. Okay. Share. What's the white screen? So you're talking about this little guy up here, right?
Yeah.
When it comes down.
Yep.
And then they have the dagesh there. You don't necessarily have to use that little tail. Okay. You can simply write it across, come down, and then make the bottom, and then put your little dogish there. And there we have the bait. It's the same as if we were to have the calligraphy pen and do the fancy calligraphy stroke.
Okay. But I don't need it.
I'm not literate enough to use a calligraphy pen. I don't even have the attention span to use a calligraphy pen. So this works just fine. In fact, there's a whole other style of Hebraic writing, which is the cursive writing. There's a book that was compiled of Yoni Netanyahu's poetry, and some of it is screenshots or snapshots of some of his handwritten poetry, as I recall. That his handwritten poetry is in Hebraic cursive. Looks totally different from this. Beautiful stuff, but looks totally different. So let's
Just have to remember to extend the bottom.
Right. You do
Pass
want to
the
put
line
that
down.
full base on it.
Yep.
Otherwise, you have something totally different.
Ah,
Okay. So we are back to our slides. Hey, look at that. So let's go on to lesson 2. Lesson 2 was the resh and the dalet, right?
Yep.
And then we also added the kamatz and the petach, or the petach and the kamatz. The resh, and here's how I remember it. It's hokey, but it works for me. The word resh is very fluid, right? It's kind of a swooping sound. That letter resh is a very swoopy mark. It's one letter. It's one line that's bent. Okay, so you're basically making a swooping resh. Dalet sounds choppy, right? Yes. So the dalet is a 1, 2 lines. So the dalet has 2 lines. The resh has 1. The dalet has this little tail over here, which separates it into 2 lines. And so that's, in my little brain, that's how I keep the 2 separated. And the more you practice, the more you'll be able to recognize it.
I take it, remember it as a door frame, a part of a door frame, where the R is like a backwards R and a dalet is like a door frame, half of it.
Okay. With the little hangover of the trim, yeah.
Yeah.
So what is the sound of the resh? Right? The closest thing we would think of is an R sound. It's not an R sound. It's the sound of the resh. It's actually a little bit different in the throat and the back of the mouth than how we would pronounce an R sound. But it's comparable. It's as close as we've got in our language. So the resh sound is R. Okay. Dalet. What sound do you think the dalet makes, Joan?
Da.
Da. Right. D sound. Da. D is for dalet. That's good enough for me. So then we have the patach and the kamatz. The petach and the kamatz both have the vowel sound of ah. What's the difference? What's the difference between the petach and the kamatz? That's right. You look at that kamatz and you go, ah. You look at the petach and you go, ah. So let's practice on line 1. Line 1, number 1, that is what letter? Dalet. So we'd say duh, right? Number 2, duh. Number 3, duh. Number 4, da. Number 5, da. Number 6, da.
Da.
Number line 4 here. Resh. So it's R. It's R. 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 Ra. 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 Now we sound like a cheering squad. So let's read some of these. Line 8. Let's read line 8. De ra. Re da. And I'm going to exaggerate the difference in the vowel just to try to drive that home. Ra, 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 da, ra, da. Okay, let's put some of these together from the last lesson. Line 9. Da, de. Very good. What about this one here? Re, ba. Very good. Number 3 on line 9. That's correct. I'm waiting for the sheep on that pig movie to start chanting something and then talking to a dog. If my kids are watching, you know what I mean. You know, the movie where Uncle Justin was in clogging. Line 9, 1, 2, 3, 4 across. Oh, the train's going by. The screen's starting to shake. Mo's feeling like he's gonna have a seizure or something because it's going like this. Okay. Da.
Dava.
Dava. Dava. How about this one?
Vade.
Vade. Right. As in Vadi. Very good. How about line 10, number 2? Ra, vav. Ra, vav. How about this guy right here?
Barad.
Correct. Barad. Lastly?
Daber.
Bear. Correct. Ooh, we're already getting into the words. Oh, it's so exciting. And any questions on how the difference in writing the resh and the dalet? Again, the resh is just one swoop, just one line. The dalet, the pencil comes up and makes 2 lines. Okay? Uh-oh. So then we have lesson 3. We're moving right along. We're on target. Lesson 3, we had the shin and the sin. Now, people tend to have a hard time differentiating these two. But the shin has the dagesh up on the right. The sin has the dagesh on the left. And so again, my little brain, how I've always studied is I try to see something like that. And I try to make it very simple for my brain to remember. So I say, it's a sin to be on the left. So there we have the shin and the sin. What sound does the shin make? Hey, I can't be quiet. I'm supposed to teach this class. What what sound does the sin make? Right, like a snake with a speech impediment. So let's look down here. Line 1. What is that rascal? What's that sound?
Sha.
Sha? Sha.
ah,
She.
ah,
Ya.
say,
Sha. How about down here? Line 3.
sa,
Sa.
say,
Say.
sa,
Sa.
sa,
Sa.
sa,
Sa.
say.
Say. Okay, let's get cute, shall we?
Boy.
My mentor, Dr. Chow, always says, okay, let's get cute with this now. Okay, line 7.
Say sa,
Say sha. Line 7, number 2.
sa, sa,
Sa sa.
ah, sa.
Puts more emphasis on that first syllable, right? By making that longer. So then this guy here.
Sa, say,
Yes, chasse. How about the last one here?
sachet.
Sachet. Very good. Line 10, number 1.
Ba, sa,
Basar. Correct. Next one.
darash. Darash.
Correct. Darash. Do not be embarrassed about having to sound these out. That's if you were teaching a toddler to read English, you would be patient. You'd say, sound it out. Well, we're learning preschool Hebrew. So sound it out. Use the tools you've got. How about this guy here?
Navar.
Shavar. Lastly,
Sarad.
Sarad. Good job. Exuberant. Any questions on how to write the shin or the sin?
I know I have to practice a lot more writing my letters.
Yes. The key to learning a language, whether it's Hebrew or what have you, is exposure. Be exposed to it, write the letters, make your little flashcards so you can be working on your vocabulary. Download that YouVersion Bible app so that it can be reading to you, so that you can be getting the sounds into your head. You can even be reading along at a certain point. Exposure is what's going to win the day for you. So lesson 4 was the Tav. Now, what did we learn about the Tav? In older manuscripts, the Dagesh made the difference between a t and a th, that th diphthong sound. So it made the difference between a t and a th sound. Is it that big of a deal if you pronounce them both just t? No, it's not. If you want to be very, very specific, yeah, do the th sound. But you'll find that the word Shabbat is actually written with the Dagesh, Shabbat. Certain words are written in certain ways, doesn't necessarily mean that you're pronouncing it wrong. Sort of like we'll say Louisville. I'm going south and I've got to drive through Louisville, Kentucky. You get down to Louisville and they'll say Louisville. And some of them will say Louisville. And some of them will just say Louisville. And you'll say, what? It's the same word, spelled exactly the same, with the same letters, but it's pronounced a little differently. It's not the end of the world. You have a lot of freedom here. If you listen to, for example, how a Jew from New York will say the word Adonai, they'll say it Adonai, right? You listen to a Jew from Chicago and they'll say Adonai. You listen to a Jew from Israel, they'll say it slightly different. It's regionalisms, it's accent. It's not the end of the world. We are more concerned with, we're less concerned with pronunciation, and we're more concerned with, do you know the sound of these letters? Do you know how these letters go together? Can you read the liturgy? Can you recognize it? That's what we're going for. I'm not trying to make you fluent, so on your next trip to Israel, you'll be able to read all the signs and know what they say and be able to order your bagel with lox in the morning in Hebrew. That's not what this is. So we have the Tav and the Tav, or the Tav and the Tav, or Tav and Tav. We've got the three vowels. We've got all these letters that we've already been through, and we know that that is a t or a th sound. We are just going, for the sake of this exercise tonight, leave it at a t sound. Okay? So number one is ta, te, ta, te, ta, ta. Ta, ta. Okay? Number four, line 4, number 1. Te, ta. Tate. How about this one?
Tate.
Tate.
Tot.
Tot. Correct. Let's start putting these things together. Line 6, number 1.
Tesha.
Tesha. Line 6, number 2.
Shave.
Te shave. Correct. Te shave. It's not te sheva. That's
Shave.
no, because there's no vowel under the vav. So that vav just tacks directly onto the shin. So it's te shave. Number 6, line 6, number 3. Teva. You see that va? Yes. That would have been over here had that been tesheva. I have fiberglass in my eyes from putting that cord up in the ceiling, and they're itching. Ooh, are they itching? Line 8, number 1. Davar. Line 8, number 2.
Rabat.
Rabat. Correct. Line 8, number 3.
Barad.
Barad. Very good. Good job. Any questions? None?
I think I'm good.
Any questions on how to write the Tav? The one thing that you need to remember with the Tav is you do have to have the little tail down here, because there are letters, chet, the hey, that will look similarly to this, but they don't have this little tail here. So you have to have this tail on the Tav. You've got to pin the tail on the Tav.
Right.
Okay, lesson 5. Lesson 5 was lamed and mem. What sound does lamed make? Oh, how about mem? Yes. So let us come down here to line 6, number 1. Male. Line 6, number 2.
Mela.
Mela. Line 6, number 3.
Melee.
Melee. Now, keep in mind, no, there's someone in the parking lot. Whoop, someone is here. Hi.
Hey, thank you. I said, no, I'm not very I want to leave you here alone.
Okay. So this mem is the mem that would occur at the beginning of a word or in the middle of the word. If it's at the end of the word, it is what do we call it? Mem sofit, or ending mem. And it's drawn differently, and we'll see that in a subsequent lesson. But Carrie, what we're doing is we just started at the very beginning,
Okay.
and we're reviewing everything. So do the best you can with what we've got here.
Right.
And when you get home, go back and review. Go back and watch the video. It'll be up. Review the first half.
Okay.
So line 9. Let's read number 1. Here we have la,
Ma.
la, vash. How about this one?
Latte.
Tate. La tate gadu la leo zebra sheet, right? How about this rascal back here?
Lay Bob.
Levav.
Va le vav.
Why is that a Bob?
Because we're looking at the fourth one. Look at the screen.
You're not looking at the same one he's looking at. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we're jumping around. Line 10, number 1.
Shamash.
Shamash.
What does that
Line
mean?
10,
Sounds
number-
nice.
Line 10, number 2.
Shamar.
Shamar. Correct. Line 10, number 3. Tamar. Correct. Line 10, number 4. Lamad. Lamed. Lamad. Any questions on how these guys are written? With the mem, the big thing again is the tail, this little tail right here. The lamed, if you draw something that looks like a scythe, you're probably going to be able to communicate it. But the mem, it's sometimes just looks like a box with a tail on it. You gotta have that tail. And you'll also note that it's open. It's not completely closed on the bottom. Let's go. Well, let's read some of these words, shall we? Let's read some of these words. Let's read the word for date, upper left. Ta mar. Ta mar. How about service? Sha sharait. How about Shabbat? Shabbat. Notice they're giving it the spelling in English when they do the transliteration, they're doing the TH. So do we pronounce it Shabbat? No, but that's where when it gets mangled into the English, we end up with Sabbath. I mean, there it is. Attendant. Shamash. The attendant candle on your Hanukkah is that middle one that's usually elevated. That's the shamash. Heart.
Le, va,
Levav. In the heart.
va, le, va,
Balevav.
va.
Balevav. So heart is levav. In the heart, to make that preposition in, you put ba. Okay. So service, sha, right, ba, sha, right. Okay. Religion. Religion is dot. If you were going to be in religion, dot. Okay. Now, this might not be correct grammar, but I'm trying to teach you the concept of it. Lesson number 6. Lesson number 6 was the final mem, and it gave us this neat little vav vowel. Okay. This neat little vav vowel shows up with this dagesh on the left of the vav, and that what sound does that make?
Ooh.
Ooh. Ooh, not you. Ooh. It's the sound my older brother makes when I walk into the room. He goes, ooh. What is it when the dagesh is above the vav? Oh, that's right. And then the final mem, the mem sofit, what sound does that make? That's right. So line 5, number 1, we have Torah. Torah. Line 5, number 2.
Moshe.
Moshe. Line 4, number 1.
Boom.
Boom. Good job. Line 6, number 1.
Jaro.
Daro. Line 6, number 3.
Shalom.
Hello. Line 9, the last one here.
Shama-ur.
Shamur. Shamur. Line 10, the last one. Radum. Radum. Line 11, the last one.
Marum.
Marom. Oh, marom. Line 12, last one.
Torah.
To, ra, to. How about line 12, the third one in? To.
Toram.
How about the second one in? Say that again. Shalom. 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 We wish you the blessing of shalom. Now you'll notice on the mem sofit, you'll notice how that bottom is closed. Remember on the regular mem, it's not closed. You've got the tail up here and it's closed off. Okay, I'm going to turn my head this way. Wouldn't that be great? Or a mirrored monitor. There are ways to do that, but I'm cheap and I don't want to spend that for something we're going to use once a year. Of course, if we keep reviewing, it might be half the year. Okay, let's look at some of these words. Well, no, that we already did that page. Lesson 7. Lesson 7, there's 3 letters that we did. We had the yud, we had the vav, and we had the final nun. We had the short, the medium, and the long. Now notice they all start at the top of the line. So in other words, that top line, they all start there. The yud comes down just about halfway. The vav comes down to the bottom line. And the nun sofit comes down past the bottom line. So it hangs down below. It's not that their heads go above, it's that their feet dangle down below. Okay? What sound do you think the yud makes? Yeah. Yeah, that's right. How about the vav? The. Why would we have the vet and the vav? Why would we have 2 letters with the exact same sound? Correct. Because these are also these letters are also used for writing numeric value too. How about the nun sofit? The nun sofit is going to be the nun that shows up at the end of a word, right? But we're showing all of these together because they look very similar. And if you're looking at a scroll, or if you're looking at a siddur, or if you're looking at just a Hebrew Bible, you could very well see these guys all together, and it can become confusing as to which is which. Usually the confusion is between the vav and the final nun. The yud, you see it and you think, is that a yud or a comma? Keep in mind, there would be no punctuation marks on the scroll. It's not a comma. Okay, it's a yud. So line 4, number 1. Bayo. Do you understand that, Carrie? Do you know why that would be Bayo and not Eddie? Because Eddie's not here. Last one. Layo, correct. How about this guy right here on line 5? Louis. That's right. Line 9, number 1. This is fun. Yon. Like yoni, but without that last vowel sound. How about this one here? Yoman. Yoman, that nacho cheese. Line 10, number 1. Boom. Boom.
So that's
Oh, that's
Bait.
bait. You don't say the yo then.
You are kind of saying it. You're kind of tacking it on there. So you're if we were to transliterate it, you'd be writing BEYT. So it'd be bait. You're kind of saying it. How about this one here? Vein. Right. How about this guy here? Mata. It kind of is on there. You're already kind of saying it. How about this guy right here? Talu. Put an S on there and you have a drunken midget that paints in France. Toulouse. Toulouse-Lautrec. Ah. Okay. Line 2, number 1.
Matan.
Matan. Line 1, number 1.
Balloon.
Ballon. Line 4, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yoter.
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 Line 4, number 2.
Door.
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 Door. But I see what you did there. You gave both possible. Door.
Sure.
It's okay. I'm from Detroit. I'm just going to say door. How about line 5, number 3? Right here.
Yom.
Bayonne.
Tabu.
Bayonne. So you're doing very well recognizing these guys. Let's look at 8.
8 is what I missed.
8 is the silent letters, the aleph and the ayin. And then we had the silent vowel, which is a very short E. But you know what? That's going to get really complicated. So we're going to review these guys next week. Okay? We're going to call it for tonight. Just go over those vocabulary lists on lessons 1 through 7. Go over lesson 8 if you can. Watch the video of when we've taught it last time. And when we come back next week, we'll go over lesson 8 and lesson 9. And hopefully we can get to lesson 10 next week.
Fancy, look at that.
So
We want to learn the hay.
Hey! So, any questions to this point?
No, thanks for the review. That was wonderful.
Good. I'm glad it was helpful. I don't want you guys getting overwhelmed.
How did you know that was happening?
What's that?
How did you know that was happening?
Because there were several people that said, "Hey, Mo, I'm having a hard time." So all you got to do is say something and we can slow down.
Perfect.
So if you are able to make it for Shabbat, come this week. We just finished up Ezra, our study of Ezra. It was incredible, but I think the Lord has something very special for us this week. So if you're able to make it in, come down. If you can't make it in, watch online. So
I do. I'm glad you have it
Shalom.
online. Yep. Night, night. Shalom.
bye-bye.